Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Project Resource Manual review. Today, we are going to talk about Module 5. So Module 5 is actually the construction document. So we're done with the schematic design and design development, and now it's time to work on the construction documents. So what is actually included in the construction documents? And there are two things. One is drawings and one is specifications, and they are complementary. The reason why we use both is one is the graphic representation of the project, which is the drawings, and specifications is the description of all the materials and products that are used in the project. Why do we need both? Well, first of all, the architects are visual people and they need to show how the building is going to look like, do some renderings and just show all the elevations and plans and sections in detail. So that is mandatory. That is what the project construction crew is using on the site to actually build the project, so they can see all the dimensions and all the details. Specifications need to describe the project, need to prescribe or just show the performance that is required. And it's in the most cases, it's impossible to have all that information on the large sheet of paper where all the drawings are. So there are different institutions that take care of all the contracts, because that is another part of the documentation. So one of the institutions is the AIA, or the American Institute of Architects. Then there is another set of documents prepared by the Design Build Institute of America, or DBIA, and there are other several different standard document set. As far as the specifications, there is the CSI, the Construction Specifications Institute, that prepares the master format, and there are other institutions working in a different system. So we'll take a look at all of them. So as far as the construction documents, this is critically important. Go to figure 5.1-A, and that is the construction documents breakdown. Make sure you familiarize yourself with all the categories. So one is the procurement documents, and what is included there is actually the drawings, the specs together with the contracting requirements, and also the procurement requirements with the addendas are included in the procurement documents. What is not included there, but is included in the project, in the contract documents, is the contract modifications. So this is critically important. This is something you need to learn. Then the project manual. What is the project manual? Basically, it's everything on 8.5 by 11. So what is not included there is the drawings, because they are for the most part large format, 24 by 36 or 36 by 48, or any other format that is applicable to that particular project. So in the project manual, what is included? It's specs, that's the contracting requirements, and the procurement requirements. And the contract documents, what is included there? Everything but the procurement requirements. So basically, contracting requirements, specs, drawings, and all the modifications are included there. So then when we read forward, what we learn actually there is that there are procurement requirements there. So what does that mean? Procurement requirements are the procedures for soliciting pricing for the work of a project. And there is a lot of information, and there are like different types of bids or proposals. So bidders qualifications and how the solicitation is handled. So there are beautiful examples there. So definitely just go to the book and check what is included, what is required, like how the bid opening is handled, like what rights the owner has, and other laws and regulations. So when the project, and there's like a sample bid form and other information there. So please make sure you familiarize yourself, and that will be easier for you to work on the construction project. So as far as the construction agreements, and we know that there are a few different agreements that are included in the project. And AIA has a variety of documents, and basically what is included there is a few different types of documents, and they are actually broken down into a few series. So A is the contracts between owner and contractor. Then B series, it's the owner and the architect, which is still weird because A is for architect, but never mind. C is other agreements with the consultants and other parties. Then D series is miscellaneous documents. E is for exhibits, and G series is the construction, contract administration and project management forms. So as far as all the rules that are applicable for all the participants, A201 or general conditions is one of the main documents. It's a large document, very dry, but that actually regulates how all the parties play in the sandbox, and like everything is listed there. Whatever situation you may encounter, you can find it there. And technically in the contract, what is listed is like you'll always find like a cover page, then the identification of parties, then like if there are other participants, then they will be listed there, then the contract documents, work of the contract, basically the scope, then time and completion, like date of commencement of the work, date of substantial completion. Then if there are any liquidated damages, that will be also mentioned in the contract. Then if there are like incentive, bonuses, penalties, and other financial obligations and awards, that will be listed there. Then the contract sum, then if there is any adjustment or like unit prices, that will be listed there. Then payment procedures. Then also like if there is any like material and equipment, that will be described. Due date for final payment, then progress payments. So then miscellaneous provisions, termination or suspension, and the signatures of the party. And that concludes the document, the contract. So conditions of the contract. So there are general conditions, which is for the most part A201, and supplementary conditions. And here, like if you want to expand the general conditions as needed or accommodate the unique requirements of a specific project. So this is what it is for. So there are different variations of the documents. One is the AIA, then there is the EJCDC variation, then the DBIA documents. So you can read and compare and contrast all of them. But the common articles actually include all those aspects that were just mentioned, like, the parties, contract documents, payments, termination, claims and disputes, how that is handled, and then the signatures of the parties. So when we talk about the formats, and we need to understand that every project is unique. So, and you will never find two similar projects. So all the requirements will be really unique for each of the project. But there are some specific requirements, like, for example, for the specifications, there are different types of them. And you can find, for example, the uniformat. That's one type of the specifications, and the basic information is divided into 9 level 1 categories there. So A is substructure, then B is shell, C interiors, D services, E equipment and furnishings, D special construction and demolition, G building site work, and Z general. So those 9 categories can be used to arrange preliminary project descriptions and preliminary cost information. So that is something that you need to learn if you use that type of specifications. But usually, and that's kind of like more common in the industry, master format specs are used, and they have 49 divisions. Not all of them used, but there are 49 total, and I will go over them real quick. So division 0 is procurement and contracting requirements. So that's all the information, like how everything will be purchased and procured. Then division 1, general requirements, and that's the project management, that's your sustainability requirements and other things there. Then the next subgroup or category is the facility construction subgroup. And there are a few divisions there, in a particular division 2 through division 19. So division 2 is existing conditions, division 3 concrete, 4 masonry, 5 metals, 6 wood, plastics and composites, 7 thermal and moisture protection, 8 openings, 9 finishes, 10 specialties, 11 equipment, 12 furnishings, 13 special construction, 14 conveying equipment, and division 15 through 19 are reserved for future expansion. So currently there is nothing there, but that is just reserved to keep them just in case if there are any additional requirements. Then the next subgroup is facility services. So division 20 is reserved, there is nothing there. Division 21, fire suppression, 22, plumbing, 23, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning, or HVAC. Division 24 is reserved. Division 25, integrated automation, 26, electrical, 27, communications, 28, electronic safety and security, and 29 is reserved. Then there is another subgroup, and that is site and infrastructure. And there are divisions 30 through 39 there. So division 30 is reserved, there's nothing there. 31 is earthwork. Division 32, exterior improvements. 33, utilities. 34, transportation. 35, waterway and marine construction. And division 36 through 39 are reserved for now. Then there is the last subgroup, and that's called process equipment. And there is a division 40, which is process integration, 41, material processing and handling equipment, 42, process heating, cooling, and drying equipment, 43, process gas and liquid handling, purification and storage equipment. 44, pollution control equipment. 45, industry-specific manufacturing equipment. 46 and 47 reserved. 48, electrical power generation. 49 is reserved. So those were the master format 49 divisions. And when you deal with the specs, why actually it's good to understand where everything is located. When you start to get the submittals from the subcontractors, that'll be critically important to refer back to the specs and compare that with the drawings, compare that with what the subcontractor submitted, and understand if that is a compliant product, if that is something that the architect specified for the project and the owner approved that. So it's always good to have that handy and be familiar with all the divisions of the specifications, just because they can always you can always refer back to them and understand what the requirements are. So also, then there are a few methods of specifying. There are 4 main methods of specifying, or 4 types of specs: descriptive, performance, reference, and proprietary. So, and let's go over each of them real quick. So descriptive, specify properties of materials and methods of installation without using proprietary names. A descriptive specification is a detailed description of the characteristics, physical properties, and workmanship required for the installation of a product or material. It generally requires technical knowledge and experience of the part of the architect and engineering team. Number 2, performance. Performance specs specify the required results, the criteria by which the performance will be judged, and the method by which it can be verified. The contractor is free to choose materials and methods complying with the performance criteria. A performance specification is a description of the required end result of a product or system and includes the criteria to be used for verification of proper installation. It is generally written to encourage the use of innovative techniques. And actually, I heard a funny joke about that I want to share with you. So, like the performance specs just basically specify like what type of concrete they would like to have in the end, and if the subcontractor would like to pour concrete and sing the national anthem, but the result is perfect, it doesn't matter what means and methods they use. Then reference standard. The reference standard specifies product or processes by established standards. A reference standard specification uses recognized industry standards rather than individually written product or installation criteria. Standards must be reviewed carefully to avoid duplications, optional requirements, and contradictions. And then there's the proprietary, and that specifies actual brand names, model numbers, and other proprietary information. Proprietary specification describes products and materials by manufacturer's name, brand name, model name, or unique characteristic. Close proprietary specifications do not allow for substitutions, but open proprietary specifications allow for alternative products. So that is the main difference between those. Then when we talk about the specification language, so the 4 C's are applied for effective communication, and those are clear. So specifications use proper grammar and simple sentence construction to avoid ambiguity. Concise, eliminate unnecessary words, but not at the expense of clarity, correctness, or completeness. Then correct, Present information accurately and precisely. Carefully select words that convey exact meanings. Then the language needs to be complete. Do not leave out important information. So those are the main aspects of the specification language. Then when we talk about the project manual and the spec practices, so the documents commonly referred to as the specs, that's just more than the name implies. So those are requirements, contracting forms, and other conditions that are just compiled into the documents. Okay, so when we talk about drawings, what do we need to know here? So when the schematic design and design development stages were done, we had already like main building systems. We already had the square footage. We already understand like what the owner's program requirements are. So we just develop what is already approved at the end of the design development phase. And there are tons of different naming conventions for the sheets, but in general, those have specific letters to that. So A is for the architectural drawings, for the architectural part. Then G is general. Then S is for structural. P plumbing, M electrical, I apologize, M mechanical, E electrical, P plumbing, FP for fire protection, and L is for the landscaping. And there could potentially be others that a specific project requires. But for the most part, those are the drawings that are in the set. Usually on the cover page, there is the index that will list all the drawings in the set, so you can easily just flip the pages and refer to those drawings. And usually what is included in the construction document set is some general requirements and UL listings, and then the site plan, all the floor plans, roof plan, then the building elevations, sections, details, enlarged details, and sometimes the interior elevations as well. Then the finish plan, then what else is included is the details, then the schedules like door schedule or window schedule, and that actually corresponds to the specs. So you can always kind of like compare what is in the drawings and what is in the specs, because sometimes there is a discrepancy, and that's the subject that actually can become an RFI. And then if there are any changes, there are like deviations and other changes in the scope, time, or budget, then that becomes a change order. So when we talk about coordinating drawings and specs, so the drawings and specifications are complementary to each other, and both are needed to fully describe a construction project. So the drawings, like I mentioned, they show size, form, quantity, relationship, generic type, and the graphic representation of construction materials. The specs define the qualitative requirements for the products, materials, and workmanship upon which the construction contract is based. So the specs also describe administrative procedures regarding both drawings and specs. The drawings and specs may separately describe limits of work or construction phases. So it's usually a good practice before the project commences. Just have your crew, have your team get familiar with the drawings, get familiar with the specs, and have them ask questions if they don't understand what actually this particular drawing means or that particular spec section means. Because that can avoid further questions and misunderstanding when the construction commences. So when we talk about procurement and contract document modifications, there is no effective substitute for clear, concise, correct, complete, and carefully coordinated construction documents. So everything needs to be verified. When the architects prepare the set of drawings, they need a second set of eyes and just peer review or some third-party review. So everything is complete and correct. So just to simplify the construction manager's life and make sure that everything is according to the owner's program requirements and everything is correct. So just QA, QC is very important, not just at the construction site, but also at the submission of the construction document set. So it's always good to double and triple check and make sure that everything is correct. So when we talk about specifications and project specifying, there are different requirements for the government projects and for the private projects. So you need to get familiar with those. So in like master guide specification, for example, is used. And there could be like an office master spec. And so just get familiar with the different specifications. So when we talk about short form specs, like some projects of limited scope and extent may need less detailed descriptions than those provided by a typical specification. So those are like simplified forms that may be utilized at the smaller project or a project of limited scope. So when we specify the performance, so if we utilize non-standard technologies, so there needs to be more description, or like if the owner wants to expedite the construction or they want to utilize existing technology or add something, or just entire system and assemblies, maybe like, you know, specially engineered, and like, so that is always kind of like you need to discuss that before the project starts. So also when you specify for the purchase of goods, purchasing of materials and equipment by the owner, that needs to be specified and discussed before the project begins, because sometimes owners would like to use their own providers and they would like to purchase that by themselves. So when you specify for the federal agencies, there are special requirements, and make sure you get familiar with those. They usually publish that on the website. You can always go and check. They refer to the codes and standards and regulations. So make sure you don't miss anything, because working with the federal agencies is a rewarding process, but it requires very specific attention to the details and very specific compliance with all those requirements. Okay, so let's move to the warranties. There are two basic types of warranties used in the construction projects. One is construction warranties or guarantees, which cover products and workmanship. And that those construction warranties are usually extended warranties specified in various spec sections. And also there are warranties which cover products only. So learn about that. Make sure you familiarize yourself with that, and you need to understand when the warranty is passed from the contractor to the owner, at what point of project, and then like when the owner starts to be responsible for all the equipment and products that are used on the construction project. Construction bonds, what is that? There are three basic types of bonds used in the construction projects: bid bonds, performance bonds, and the payment bonds. So as far as the bid bonds, what does that do? So that actually protects the owner in case the contractor flakes out and doesn't perform and is not able to submit the bid. Then performance bond, that covers the whole work of the contractor in case something happens, some force majeure or some other circumstances, and the contractor is no longer able to perform the work that he subscribed for. Then the bond can cover, and the owner can hire a different contractor, and they can finish the work. And the payment bond, so that covers all the payments that the contractor owes to the subcontractor and his suppliers and all the manufacturers. So in case something unusual happens, that can always be covered. Then the construction insurance. There are a few different types of liabilities that insurance covers. So contractor's liability insurance, what does that cover? The contractor needs to have the workers' comp, and that'll be state, federal, and employer's liability. Then there's a general liability, and what actually that covers is that it has the general aggregate limit, products, completed operations, personal and advertising injury limit, then each occurrence limit, fire damage limit, medical expense limit. And there could be an umbrella policy just covering like all of that. And also the automobile insurance is required, and there is actually bodily injury and property. This is what it's covered. And not just automobile, it could be an aircraft or watercraft. So it doesn't matter. It's just the basically the vehicle. And if there are subcontractors, they need to provide those documents, which is license, bonds, and insurance at the time there is a procurement meeting held at the construction management firm or at the general contractors. So that is the requirement. And actually, that is it for this particular chapter. So I will see you in the next video, and that will be module 6, which is bidding, negotiating, and purchasing. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.